Forbidden Blood, a vampire romance novel, by B.T. Daniels, narrated by Alec Shea. Chapter 1. Bloodbank of Boredom. Lucas Winslow looked down the corridor one last time before strolling back to his post in the foyer of the large stone building he worked in. Being a security guard at First Blood Bank of Edgehaven had proven to be a fairly easy job thus far, especially now that he had been switched to the night shift. Nothing ever happened at night in a blood protection center. In fact, the hardest part of the job was the long hours of silence he had to endure each time he was scheduled to work. Most nights he battled his boredom by pacing the hallways over and over again. On his way back to the front desk, after yet another lap of the building, he stopped in the bathroom for a change of pace. He stood in front of the cloudy mirror and adjusted his hair and uniform. Lucas had always been fit. As a high schooler, he'd been an athlete, and the fitness skills he had gained followed him into adulthood. He spent hours at the neighborhood gym every day, and the hard work he put in paid off in a toned and muscular frame. There wasn't an ounce of fat to be found on his 5'11" frame. With his masculine body, perfectly disheveled hair, and tanned skin, he was the perfect example of what a man should be. Besides going to the gym, Lucas was somewhat of a homebody, but the times he did venture out to a bar for a night out, he attracted the attention of most women in the room around him. Lucas never took his good looks for granted, and certainly never took advantage of the attention he got from the fairer sex. That's probably the reason he was still single at the ripe old age of 35. He had dated a few women over the years, but nothing had ever clicked with any of them. Exiting the bathroom, Lucas headed up towards the front to wait out the remaining hours left in his shift. He was finally starting to get used to working the graveyard shift, but staying up all night still took its toll on his body. His internal clock was all off. Napping during the daytime had never been something he had been particularly fond of, but it had become a bit of a necessity to help him last the late-night hours of his shift. He was thankful his apartment was less than a 10-minute walk from the blood bank. He had a car and a bicycle, but he always chose to walk and enjoy the fresh air. Every night, his bed was the only thing that was on his mind the latter half of his work shift. The last few hours were the hardest of the night. He had made so many laps of the building and was bored by that point. Besides, there was never much to do in the building. There had never been a break-in, so Lucas had to put in effort to keep his eyes open. The management refused to add an additional TV other than the one.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?